Yeah. Taking over. Pass the mic. Very take out.
Cool. See you then. No worries, hustler.
So welcome, Rach. A different type of partnership here. One that I'm sure you'll like, being in front of the cameras and the mics and
Oh my God.
that sort of thing. But yeah, I just want to welcome you to mic testing 1, 2, 3. We've got a lovely little setup here, as you can see all the cameras. The only thing that I have a little bit of a challenge at the moment is the fact that it's quite early in the day. So it would have been nice if the media boys asked us to do this later in the day.
To be fair, bro, we're both like, our schedules follow up each other. We both were late this morning. Alarm for 1:30, in bed for another 15 minutes.
Thanks for knocking on the door, bro.
Okay.
Got me out of bed. That was fantastic. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions around your life in CSK and how that's formed over the last couple of years. I remember a conversation we had in the middle, actually, in the World Cup 23 opening game against England, where we had a pretty successful partnership. I remember saying to you, right, you're going to really enjoy playing in the IPL one day. I can see you dominating, and it's fantastic from my point of view, just seeing you not only part of the IPL, but involved in CSK and dominating. So it's pretty special that we had that conversation in the middle of an innings, and I don't know if you can talk much about that conversation.
Yeah, obviously we both know what that game was like, and it was pretty special for the both of us. It's funny because you see, the general public or the fans or, pundits of the game just think it's all cricket in the middle and it's all that moment, but there's so much that goes on. I mean, we do talk about our batting in the middle and we try to help each other out, but there's a lot of time just to talk about random stuff.
Yeah.
And, we've had memories where, we used to bat together and talk about the songs we've been listening to, which was great. We used to sing it to each other in between overs, and this was one of those similar moments. It was just like, that could be a cool moment because we talked about how nice the wicket was to bat on. Yeah. And then for me, it was definitely a full circle being able to, get picked up in the auction last year for CSK, and then, last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was, and then you calling me up right away, and you pretty much called it at the end of that World Cup. I don't know if you remember. You're like, yeah, bro, you're going to come to CSK. I was like, nah, bro, there's so many top order batters, no chance.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we're playing the same team with each other. So I think those moments, and from going back to 2017 and spending so much time together, it's definitely, a full circle pinch yourself moment when you look at things like that.
So yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about our life here in Chennai.
Yep.
What's your understanding of the city and its culture? Is there anything that you can sort of elaborate on Chennai itself?
Yeah, I think if we look at it in isolation as like CSK, I think you look at the fans and it just shows the passion people have. I mean, look, I talked to Dad about Chennai in general, and he just talks about how the people have, put cricketers and Tollywood, I think they call it, and
what do they call it?
Tollywood, which is like the South Indian Hollywood.
Yeah, okay.
They put like those actors, actresses, cricketers
really
on this absolute pedestal, treat them like gods.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, okay. I didn't quite understand exactly what he meant before I joined the CSK environment, but then seeing it now is just unbelievable. The support we have on game days in the hotel, how many people there are like wanting your signature photos, it's madness. Yeah. The drive to the ground, like they're all stacked up on the rows, like cheering. You rock up to the ground, they're like the crowds through the airports, like it just shows how cricket passionate they are.
Yeah.
You're going and warming up and they're screaming your name. The whistles are out early.
Yeah.
Like that stuff to me is amazing. It makes it hard, like not hard to get up for games, and
certainly.
That's why the IPL is such a cool environment to play in, because of all that stuff. But I think in particular the Chennai fans is what really drew me to the city and its culture, because that personifies the Chennai person, and how they support people and they get around their heroes, which I think is special. Yeah. It's certainly different to New Zealand. I mean, you can speak to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive shock. Like the volume. I mean, I think after a couple of games, they can test like the volume of the crowd and stuff, and they say like the decibels of the crowd is just like louder than pretty much being in a nightclub.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even like the biggest crowd in terms of numbers.
Yeah,
it's like not the biggest stadium rather. It's always full.
Yeah,
but it's unbelievable to me.
It's incredible. I mean, one thing that I saw from a distance in the last home game we played, you were batting. And MS, you actually got the opportunity to bat with him. What was it like hearing the crowd when he walked in?
unbelievable. It just personifies, like I said, Chipok and, the fanfare they have for MS. Obviously, he's achieved so much, not just for CSK, but for India too. So there's a lot of, connection there.
Yeah.
It's a cool moment. You think about guys you've grown up watching, and to be able to bat with him was cool, although it was only for 3 balls, I think. But standing in the middle and hearing that was ridiculous. And, I don't know, have you batted with him before?
I have.
Yeah, so how... It's ridiculous though.
It's crazy. Once the first time was in Pune, so probably didn't quite get the volume that you get here back home in Chipok. But the second time was a day game against Punjab Kings. Sammy Curran was actually playing that game, and he came in. It was just, it's breathtaking. I think it's everyone's dream to get that opportunity to be there at the other end day and just see what it's like. And
I just think it just connects you to the moment. You know what I mean?
Totally.
There's so many things that happen in the game that just blows by you, and you're like, okay, the situation's this is happening, we need to win this game. But then at the end of the day, you realise it's a sport that we're playing for a living, and we're really enjoying it, and we love it, like we did as we were 5-6 years old.
Of course.
And it puts into perspective because so many people care about what we do on the field, which I think is really cool. It's and obviously MS, and it's bigger than all that. It's the cricket fanfare, especially in Chennai in India.
Yeah.
It's certainly like a wow, this is crazy. We have so much effect on these people, and you win a game, the happiness you score runs, the happiness you see on their faces is certainly special.
Yeah. What was the place we toured before this last game? Can you remember? Guwahati. I think I was a culprit of taking videos of MS walking out the airport.
And you airdropped them to me on the bus.
It was just you have to get those moments to believe exactly what's happening. The amount of fans that came there to basically get a glimpse of MS and the CSK team was just incredible. It was great that we got those videos just to keep as memory in the future.
Watch them on planes when we're on those long hauls. Remember what it was like back in the day.
When we didn't have Wi-Fi and we weren't sitting in the front of the plane.
We know cricket's a pretty fickle game, right? And we get in and out of the 11 at times, and there's been times where you've been playing, I haven't been playing, I've been playing, you haven't been playing. How do you manage that? How do we each support each other when we're not? Because obviously we know we've got a great relationship off the field as well and on the field, but how does that dynamic work?
Yeah, I think it's been fantastic. I think because we've worked together for such a long period of time, like even in winter periods and stuff, and we've known each other's games so well, and we've helped each other on and off the field. It's been very, very supportive. So for me, when I've been left out of an 11, I think the biggest thing is you getting around me and sort of saying, it's nothing to stress about. You're still a gun player. We still back you. But what are the things you want to work on now that you're not quite playing at this stage? Which is something that I always feel like is important. If you're not playing, you're always thinking, how am I going to improve? How am I going to find a way to get back into the team? And I think, like you say, that relationship that we have, the closeness that we have, it just helps us to get through those times.
Sure.
And like you also said right in the beginning, it's such a fickle game, so it can change. So it's just about keeping that growth mindset, something that I really admire about you, when you weren't quite playing, but your hunger to train, to improve. I think that's something that's sort of driven me over the last couple of months when I haven't sort of been part of the 11.
So obviously we both broke through at the Fibers together, very similar time. Me as a 17, 18-year-old, you as a senior. How do you think that dynamic went? How come we got along so easily? Obviously it's different because I'd be hanging out with the younger guys and you'd be with the older guys. And how did that work out? And
that's interesting because that speaks a lot to me, because one of my regrets growing up was probably not being truly myself within the environment. Like you said, it's so daunting. When I cast my mind back to when I sort of entered the senior team in Johannesburg, we had the likes of Neil McKenzie and Alvaro Peterson, Stephen Cook, some of these guys who are, these legends of South African cricket. And for me, it just felt very intimidating to sort of be myself within the changing room, to speak out loud. And one thing I can seriously give you credit for is just you being yourself from the get-go when you entered the environment. And I think you were very young. I think you might have been 17 maybe. I might be wrong, but I know you were very young entering the group. And I just sort of felt like, wow, if only I could have been a little bit more myself things potentially could have been different. But again, it's taken a few years, and I think the culture was a little bit different back when I started playing professional cricket, and there's a very senior junior sort of environment, whereas now I think the environment's very inclusive. Everyone's sort of equal, and everyone is encouraged to be themselves. And I think that's one thing I can give the Black Caps huge credit for, is as soon as you enter that environment, it doesn't shock me when guys perform as soon as they get the opportunity to play, because everyone says, right, I mean, when I made my debut, Ross and Kane and Balti and Southey, these boys really just said, mate, whatever's worked for you in the past, just continue doing that. Keep doing you. And I think that encouragement and that sense of belonging really helps a young player coming into an environment.
For us as well, obviously, we can touch on that too. You coming from South Africa, my parents being from India, I was born in New Zealand. I guess it shows how multicultural New Zealand is. And,
yes.
How does that, dynamic work? Obviously, you made that tough decision when you were 26.
Something around
Wasn't you
there.
probably only with Kim officially for like a year or something?
Year and a half,
it's obviously quite a big role,
Sure.
quite a big decision, and a big role from Kim as well to pack up what she had and the job that she had and the cricket that you had. And how did that work out, and what were you thinking at the time?
Yeah, it was an interesting period of my life. I think a lot of credit needs to go to Kim. I remember vividly sort of speaking to her one day and saying to her, listen, I think I'd like to go explore different avenues, and I think I've got a couple of mates in New Zealand who say that living in New Zealand is a lovely place. The people are very welcoming. It's a fantastic country to live in. And I remember her response was, right, let's do it. So a lot of credit has to go to her for like giving me that push, because it was like I needed someone there to say, yeah, let's commit to it fully. So yeah, it was, like I say, very interesting. Took a punt, and sort of handed out a bit of a cricketing CV to all the clubs in Auckland and Wellington region, and thankfully I got two guys to get back to me. One was Shri from CSK, as well as Robbie Kerr, who helped me get onto a guy named Jimmy Boyle, who was sort of the head coach of Victoria University Wellington Cricket Club. And I think it was just fantastic that I got that opportunity to go to Vic in the end, to base myself near Wellington Central, to get the opportunity to meet the guys like you and Michael Bracewell and Hamish Bennett, one of the other guys that was pretty influential in getting me the opportunity to play for the Firebirds. So thank you, Benny. But yeah, it was just, it was a bold call. So I had to take a lot of risks. I'd never been to New Zealand before, but then again, it just speaks so much to how New Zealand is as a country, how welcoming people are. It was never really a huge challenge. I got stuck into work straight away, coaching little kids at different schools to fulfill my time, and then having the opportunity to practice with Victoria University Cricket Club and play for them as well, which is a club I'll certainly hold close to my heart. So it was a tough decision, but in the long run, to be sitting here and gone through what's happened over the last 8 years has been amazing.
But that's the thing, I guess that's the theme of no matter what you do in life, I don't know, it feels like it's gratitude and gratefulness, right? And no matter what situation you're in, and I'm certainly grateful for my background and my parents and my friends and the people I've spent time with, because they've influenced me in a way that I couldn't really describe. I am who I am because of my support system, and I'm sure you're the same. And since you've got, I guess, two different, well, now you sort of the whole Kiwi thing, and the people who've helped you on your journey, I think, and the way how thankful you are is certainly inspiring for me too. It's like never like forgetting where you come from, and never forgetting the people who've helped you along the way, because you see these cool performances on the world stage and all that, but ultimately, it's bigger than that.
Sure.
And there's so many people who've helped us on this journey.
Yeah.
So it's important never to forget that.
That's what I want to ask you. I want to ask you a little bit about your earlier days. I want you to elaborate a little bit in terms of the influence that your father's had on you growing up, and have you had any cricketing heroes? I mean, I certainly know of one of your cricketing heroes that you'll mention, but can you tell us a little bit about the influence that they've had on you? Yeah,
Dad's massive for my journey. I think it's kind of been well documented, and you've seen it too. And both my parents, Mum used to get me up early and have everything sorted for me, my breakfast, my lunch, everything. Again, it's hard to put into words, probably get a bit emotional when I talk about that stuff, because the influence that they've had is so big. I wouldn't be half of the person I am without that, and let alone my cricket, I think it's the person and the personnel behind me, like I've sort of touched on before. But yeah, countless hours in the nets, throwing balls at me and helping me become the cricketer I am today. And I still talk to him about my cricket.
Sure.
Still call him every couple of days and talk about the games that are coming up and little things that I could have done better and stuff. And I think it's made my relationship. He's probably my best mate. And one of my best mates in that way. He'd probably be the best man at my wedding, or that sort of stuff. And I think is pretty special because he's been there all the way. Mum's been there all the way.
Sure.
And again, super grateful for our relationship. And I guess heroes wise too, like Tendulkar, obviously Dravid named after both those guys, so it's pretty hard to go away from that. And then more recently you got Kohli and Kane and those guys, which I grew up watching on TV, which I think, obviously Kane, we know what he's like as a person and the way he influences the New Zealand environment with his leadership and his calmness, and I think everyone wants to be like him. Yeah. And the weight of runs and him just being a nice person, I think puts a cherry on top.
I want to ask you a little bit about that. I don't know if we can say it, but whitewash against India in India. What was your feelings about that?
So we touched on it a little bit, but honestly, it's like you said, it's probably one of those moments that you're not going to quite sink in until after. I think after every test match, the first test match we won, we were like, oh, okay, interesting. Won the second one, we're like, okay, weird. We rock up to the third one, see this absolute red soil burn, and we're like, ooh, problem. And then we won it, and we're like, what just happened then?
Important toss.
Yeah, important toss. And then it just happened. I mean, we were right on the right side of the toss 3 times, although we lost the first toss. But
yeah, sure.
I mean, all things have to fall into place. India's such a good team. You can't just rock up and hope things happen. And definitely there's things that happen. There's a bit of luck. And the person at the time, Santner, bowled amazingly. AJ's bowled really well. Youngie batted well. You had a couple of scores. Things just happen. And look, we had a terrible fist in Sri Lanka before. I'm sure you remember that. We got absolutely pumped in that second test.
We did, indeed.
I was disappointed with the first test because we got close and I got out on that 5th day early, and I was like, I was thinking about it all night. But everything happens for a reason, right? And I think you'd trade in, losing that test in Sri Lanka and our 2 tests in Sri Lanka for what we did in India. And like I said, I'll only settle down when one day we're probably both having a barbecue with our family and kids running around, our dogs, and being like, wow. Bro, remember that?
That was amazing.
That was cool, And the prep and stuff was amazing. And I think we always talk about as people, we talk about the mountaintop, the summit, and I don't think we're going to quite remember the exact feeling of being on top of the world. Not, winning a 3-0 series. Not going to feel that, but we're going to remember the journey of us getting there. You're going to remember each test, each ball, how we're feeling, that amazing catch you took in Bangalore, the runs you scored, the partnerships we had. Yeah. We're going to remember those little moments after the game, how we got around each other, singing Santner's on fire, that stuff. In the bus, banging the top, that's those moments, bro. Special. You're going to always remember the scoreline. You're not going to remember having the trophy in hand, the photo you had together, but those moments after the games, the journey of it, I don't know. That for me is probably the coolest thing about it all.
It's brilliant. I mean, special time in our lives, and we'll always appreciate that happened.
Exactly.
How does it feel to be labelled as potentially the next superstar? As a humble guy like you, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I don't know about next superstar, bro, but I mean, I guess you play in these environments, you do reasonably well in world tournaments, you do okay, and you get slapped a label, but honestly, it doesn't dictate me as a person. I guess, like we talk about the Kiwi way and the Kiwi mindset is staying humble and true to your roots, and it's not really playing cricket for that reason. I mean, you want to be the best you can be, and like we talked about, it's never, if you're the best in the world, it's not about you're going to have this amazing enjoyment at the top being like, yes, this is great, I love it. It's the happiness in trying to get there and the journey that takes you on and the environments you play for and the teams and the winning and the friends you make and the memories you make is what's important to me. And I think that superstar status, I think it will come at some point, it'll be slapped on by fans and pundits of the game and coaches or whatever it is, but I think personally you're always going to be Rachin Ravindra, who comes from Wellington, comes from Lower Hutt, who's mates with Devon, who's mates with, my group chat, who's got a relationship and who's got their parents and your kids and your family, and that comes in time. And for me, that's important, and how people perceive you as a cricketer doesn't really matter, at the end of the day, because look, your runs unwritten, they're remembered, but you are who you are as a person, and people always remember you for that. And regardless of how good of a cricketer you are, and look, I want to be the best I can be. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, I'm a competitive person. I would like to keep getting better as we talk about. But yeah, to me, that's what it boils down to, not necessarily being like the face of cricket or anything like that.
I think you have to give a lot of credit to a guy like Kane, just the way he's gone about it, because he was that superstar, is that superstar over a long period of time. So I think for you to see that and learn from it will only hold you in good stead. And by the way you speak about it, it just feels like you've got it, nailed. And I just love how true you are to yourself, and also the fact that I love the fact that you haven't changed, as you've been throughout that time you entered the Wellington environment to who you are now as a person hasn't changed. I mean, I can clearly see a huge change in terms of the fan base getting around you, but you as a person hasn't changed, which is fantastic too.
Thanks, bro. I mean, that's something, hopefully you can hold me accountable for that too, right? And it's something we can always hold each other accountable because we know each other from such a young age. Well, certainly me when I was really young, and I know you too. So that's why a relationship's great, because we can notice these little things, we can tell each other, we can have honest conversations, be like, bro, I think you're being a bit silly here, or whatever it looks like, and I think that's a special thing that we have.
Sure. And then I wanted to ask you in terms of what's your perception of what cricket might look like in the future if you think about tests and ODI cricket? Can you see it shaping in any different direction at all?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's hard to say. I always think the ODI World Cup's the pinnacle. I think there's something about it that really excites me, and I've grown up watching 2015 World Cup, 2019 World Cup, 2011 World Cup, New Zealand doing well, and that's something that I'll hold true. I guess the whole bilateral thing's interesting now. I guess the competitiveness and the context of it changes, and I think in the lead up to World Cup it's always going to be like that, but it's also, we know it's a format we do enjoy, especially batting. Being able to just bat on autopilot and score runs as you do, hopefully at a good strike rate, is really fun. And look, test matches are always going to be there. I think I talk about it with the senior guys a lot, talk about it with you, talk about it with Kane, like it's the heart of our game, right? It's the tradition.
Certainly. And
the feeling of putting in 5 days of work at the end. Like, it's never like playing a T20, never like playing a one day, It's all happens at once, where this is a culmination of work, not just 5 days, but also before and the prep and everything. And the feeling of winning a test match is not like any other, right?
Unreal.
And especially we talk about that, series against India after every test, how we felt was just amazing. So, I hope it hangs around. It's a format I love. And whatever it looks like, I'm not an expert on the way scheduling is and how, all these guys talk about it. But for me, I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy the grind of it. Sure. And I enjoy the calmness and the peace of batting when you're in that stage.
All right, and then thanks again, Raj, for your time. It's been great to chat to you on this podcast. But I just want to ask you a couple of quiz questions on you. And let's see how many you can get right. There's just, I think, 4 here. So you have the record for the most runs by a batsman in your first World Cup. How many? Can you remember?
I'm not a huge stats person. I feel like I scored 570 something. I won't be able to give you the exact number.
It's pretty much spot on. It's 578 for your first World Cup is amazing. And then second one, how many runs did you score in the Champions Trophy of 2025? You batted 4 times.
About 4 times.
You batted 4 times.
260 something.
263.
Not bad. It's not bad, bro.
Amazing, and obviously, you reap the rewards of winning the Player of the Tournament, which is fantastic for New Zealand.
Appreciate it. I wish we won the trophy though.
Yes.
Next time.
And then you and I have shared a partnership of how many against England in the first match of World Cup 2023?
I think I remember this one. 273.
Spot on.
Yeah.
It's an amazing partnership. Probably the best partnership I've ever been involved in.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. How many centuries does Rachin have in ICC tournaments?
5.
And counting.
Hopefully.
It's brilliant. Thanks again for joining mic testing 1, 2, 3. It's been awesome to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Dev. It's been very, very fun. I think we have these moments a lot, but it's nice to formalise it for one time.
Yeah.
So thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
Cheers.